Ladies, my fellow mommies, we are always so busy, on the go, kids screaming in the back seat, sleeping babies. I have the ultimate hack for you.
Welcome to the Stay Fit Mom Podcast with Krista and Tracy, your go-to girls for health, fitness, and keeping it real in mom life.
If you can't seem to get in a good groove with your nutrition and exercise program, this is for you.
We've coached thousands of women using macros for over 8 years, and I'm well known around here for my 5-day meal prep videos.
What does a macro balanced meal look like?
Hit subscribe to the Stay Fit Mom Podcast and join us for a fun, meaningful journey toward a healthier, happier you.
You got this, Mom.
It's the episode finale of the Stay Fit Mom Podcast Season 2, and today is a special treat for me, not so much for our guest who loves to be behind the scenes everything. Just so y'all know, I had to beg him to do this. Welcome to the show, my husband, the man behind Stay Fit Mom, Chris.
Thank you for having me. While I am happy to be here next to you, it would be polite discourse to say that. I've always been told my whole life that I have a face for radio and a voice for the library. So hopefully this isn't too bad.
Chris, just tell us, this is off the cuff. I gave Chris a list of interview questions, but not this one. How many Stay Fit Mom podcast episodes have you listened to prepare yourself for your big debut?
Well, I would have to say I've listened to all of them 50 times as you edit them. So never straight through, but I hear the clips in the background going. But I've only listened to the adoption one from start to finish.
Okay, so you already know that we do segments every episode. Tell us about the last time you Googled something. What was it?
Prime Day started yesterday, and I'm in the market for a new watch. So I was Googling Garmin watches. I've always had an Apple Watch for the last few years, but I guess I'm really hard on them. The first one, I think I shattered the screen within the first year. The next one, the battery just died. I don't know if it overheated or what. And then on the last one, somehow I shattered the bottom side of the watch, and I wear this thing all day long. I only take it off to charge it at nighttime, and somehow underneath shattered and it won't charge anymore. So I've been looking at Garmin watches.
And you just think that they're going to be a little bit more durable?
Hopefully for the price point.
Okay, and why Garmin? Why make the switch? We're so Apple loyal, you and I.
I was asking friends for recommendations on smartwatches. I like the Garmin idea of the body battery, the recovery aspect, and then the sleep tracking, which I'm sure the more expensive Apple Watches would do. But like I said, I've just had really bad luck with my Apple Watches. So I'm just trying something new this time.
So it has sleep features. It has...
I think there's a body battery. It tells you where you're at recovery wise based on sleep and activity. I'm not sure how it works, but I'm looking to figure that out.
You will be 100% all the time.
Probably not. It'll be drained all the time when my kids are around. And then if I ever get any time away from them, that's probably when it will recharge.
I guess I could do the last time I Googled something.
Yeah, what was that?
Just today in Home Depot, we are getting ready to build a door for our bedroom. And just so you listeners know, it's tough to have a house with 8 people and not have a door on your bedroom. And we're going on, how long have we lived in our room now without a door?
Maybe a month, but we were gone 2 of those weeks. So it's not been too bad yet.
But my parents are coming to visit. It's time. It's time for a door. And so we were Googling stains and if this specific stain is oil based. And so everything is about building the door. We looked at buying a door, but you guys know that Chris is frugal McFrugalson, and the door was, how much was the door?
We're looking for a double French door that is arched to fit our arched doorway area into our bedroom. And a custom door like that is probably going to run around $7,500. So I figured we'd spend at least $500 to try and do it ourselves.
I'm very confident it's going to work out because you just figure these things out. But how confident would you say you are in your ability to do this? 0 to 10.
I would give myself an 8, the confidence level. I'm doing a lot of routing. It's going to be like a panel door. It's supposed to look just like a door. It's going to be heavy because it's not going to be hollow.
All right. Don't worry. I'll update you on the interwebs as this transpires. So, hot mess. Each week we share a mess from our life. burn, dinner, workout, feel, embarrassing moment, you name it. What's one hot mess you've experienced recently?
Does a parenting failure count? We just finished a 2-week road trip. We booked all these hotels where we could fit all 8 of us in one room, so bigger roomed hotels with continental breakfast. We wanted our kids to eat big breakfasts every day. I went in there telling them, make sure you guys prioritize protein because this is the big meal of the day. We don't plan to eat real food again until after the daily activity, which could be anywhere from 6 to 10 hours later. So prioritize protein. And I have more than one child that would got the big Belgian waffle that they have at these continental breakfasts, and they didn't put syrup on it. They put chocolate syrup on it, and then they put whipped cream on it, and then they put chocolate chips on it, and then if it was available, they'd put cookie crumbles on it. So I think that's a parenting fail for me.
They're looking at this buffet like, yes, I will indulge my heart out. And you just think it's a parenting fail because they made the wrong choice?
Yeah, I don't know if it was so much that it was the wrong choice, but when I tried to explain it to one of my children, I said, there's not a whole lot of protein on that plate, which is what I want you to fill up on and prioritize for breakfast. He's like, well, what if I have cereal with it?
We're a work in progress. I'm trying to think of another hot mess moment from the trip. Anything you can think of?
We went to the Biltmore House in North Carolina, and we had to walk about 4 miles on the grounds to get to a winery. We did wine tasting there a few years ago, and there was one wine that I really liked, so I wanted to go there and buy a couple bottles.
Let's just stop right there. That's not a high incentive walk for 6 kids. They're not like, oh, at the end of this walk, you're going to get a big ice cream cone, or you're going to get a toy, or you're going to see something really cool. It's like we're walking 5 miles so dad can buy his favorite wine from the Biltmore House. But tell us about the experience. So what happened?
The kids just all melted down. The 4 youngest ones were basically throwing tantrums. We wanted to surprise them with some kind of treat, but I couldn't do it after the way that they acted.
Really, they just melded down the last mile. For 4 out of the 5 miles, I thought they were relatively okay, but then it went bad. It wasn't just, oh, this sucks. It was like, I hate all of you. I will kill you. We have such high highs and low lows.
Yeah. Apparently, our daughter's life is torture all the time. Yeah. And that wasn't even the end of the walk. We were supposed to walk back another 4 miles. So technically, it was only the end of the first half of the walk.
And it was 90-degree weather. We were all a hot mess. It's very hot in the South right now. I think it's probably hot everywhere, but just the humidity in the South is so intense. So that was a hot mess. That was probably a low of the whole trip, but we made it. We all survived. They're stronger for it. They'll be fine. Last segment, Chris, is a tiny joy. What's one simple thing that made you smile? Could be a small act of kindness, anything you can think of.
Yeah, we have a family reunion coming up at the end of this month, and it's my mom's parents and everyone below them, which is going to be about 50 people all staying in one house, or at least converging at one house. Some people are staying Airbnbs, but we're all going to be hanging out at one house for about 3 days. We're going to have a doubles pickleball tournament. We have 25 teams. We've already made the teams and set up the bracket, but I've been practicing with Oliver. He's our youngest. And every time that we go out there and we just practice dinking back and forth for 5 minutes, and then we'll hit longer shots for about 5 minutes, and then he has to finish with getting 5 serves in from behind the line. And he's usually smiling the whole time. So that would be my tiny joy. It's just a smile on his face when we're playing.
And he is also my tiny joy this week because I feel like I needed to update all the listeners. When I talked to Leanne, I mentioned the giftedness and how he has this tick. And that friend of a friend said that her pediatrician said there's a high correlation between kids that have these ticks and high intelligence or giftedness. And Ollie was so excited to be pronounced gifted. And so we had him signed up for the gifted test. He took it. And I feel the need to update you all on what happened because I know that you're on pins and needles and you can't wait to hear. So we go to the school and he takes the test and he comes out and he just looks confident as a cucumber. He is got a big smile on his face. And I'm like, Ollie, how did it go? He's like, great. It went fantastic. I'm like, love the confidence. Do you remember any questions? And he said, yeah, this was one of the riddles, Mom. What's pink, a little bit rubbery, and has to do with mistakes? And I'm looking at him and I'm like, Ollie, what did you say? And he said, a charm. And I was like, a charm? Yeah, it's a charm, Mom. I said, don't you think it might have been an eraser, Ollie? And he looked at me and went, oh, Mom, you're gifted. So turns out we got the results back and he did not pass the gifted test. But we were sure to tell him that he is so gifted and special in his own way. I thought that answer was very creative. I don't know what he meant, but yeah, that's my tiny joy this week. And that also serves to set the scene for Ollie. He's just a little bit different. We have a house full of athletes and competitors, and Ollie is just our creative. He's very artistic. Musical. He's just different. And so it's funny to watch him out there on the pickleball court. Out of the 5 serves, how long does it take him to get all 5 in?
He's up to about 50%. So he normally has to try about 10 times to get 5 serves in.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, let's dive into the episode. And today we're just going to run a few categories by you, Chris. We're going to talk about family life. We're going to talk about your role at Stay Fit Mom, what you do. If you've ever been a part of Stay Fit Mom in any way, experienced customer service, been a client, purchased a cookbook, there's so many different things that you could have interacted with Chris and just not even known it.
I handle all the boring stuff.
But you just never see him. He's just behind the scenes in every way. So his role and what he's doing. And then also we're going to talk about his health and fitness journey because Chris is a force. He is a force. I'll have to put some steamy pictures up of Chris, but we want to just talk about his life and staying fit and being so disciplined. And then we're going to get real about some parenting stuff and being a husband. And then we're going to just do some rapid fire questions at the end. So that's what this episode's about. You ready?
Let's go.
What's it like being married to Stay Fit Mom, Tracy? What's the best part? What's the worst part?
I love it. In what other profession are you actually encouraged to sleep with your boss? Just kidding. I would say the best part is definitely the schedule freedom, being able to work from everywhere compared to my time with CVS, where even 10 plus years in, I only had 3 weeks of vacation. And even then, there was a lot of restrictions on when I could take that time off. So the schedule freedom is a huge perk. The worst part is working 365. There's something to do for the business every single day. It is important to keep up with those daily tasks. So it's working 7 days a week, every day of the year.
I put out a question box on Stay Fit Mom. Some of these questions come from here. And one of them was about pharmacy. And do you ever miss pharmacy, especially given the mental health situation of big box pharmacists? What did you have to say about that?
I do miss the pharmacy portion of my job. I do not miss the retail setting that I was in. I miss the people that I used to work with. I used to work with several different teams, but I ran the busiest CVS in the state of Nevada for about a year and had a really big team. So I do miss working day in and day out with a large team and getting to know those people and watching them grow. But I do not miss working in the retail pharmacy. I do not at all.
Yeah, there is something to be said because now you work from home and you probably don't receive the same level of respect as you did heading the team of the busiest pharmacy in all of Nevada.
Sorry, that's a trade-off I'm willing to accept.
That is one thing, though, that has been a little bit gratifying as somebody that's been a stay-at-home mom with her kids for so long. You could probably identify with this. There's just so many days where you want adult interaction or you just want a little bit of gratitude. It's a very humbling position to be in where you're this full-time stay-at-home parent and you feel like you're the hamster on a hamster wheel some days. But that being said, I wouldn't trade it for the world. But it is nice to have Chris peek into that world and say, wow, this is hard. And I remember when he was working 14 hours a day at pharmacy and he would come home from work and he would be on his phone, or he'd have a couple of hours to do some projects. And then on his days off, he would be so zonked from how hard it was to keep up with everybody. So even though Stay Fit Mom is very flexible, I always feel like we have two full-time jobs. Chris, explain that a little bit.
Are you referring to the remodel or the parenting?
Oh, I
Or
guess you're right. That would be 3 full-time jobs. I was just saying Stay Fit Mom is job number 1.
Yeah, I mean, Stay Fit Mom, that requires my attention every single day. My kids require my attention every single day. And then on top of that, anytime we have projects going on, that also requires a lot of my attention. So the remodel sucked the life out of me for about 4 months straight. That was all I did all day, every day when I wasn't parenting or working for Stay Fit Mom. And then yard work where we live is a never ending process. That's something I always got to do as well. So always plenty of things to do.
Yeah, not a lot of downtime in the Gifford household. We don't have many days where we're just like, this is a great free day. We don't have a lot of those with all the responsibilities we're trying to keep up with. So that being said, you're a dad of 6. What's your favorite part? What's the hardest part?
My favorite part is probably watching hard work pay off. So whether it's sports or school or music or insert whatever that might be, I love watching my children face adversity of some kind and overcome it. The hardest part is definitely the fighting or squabbling within the siblings. I remember Siege and Milo have always fought ever since they were old enough to walk and talk to each other. They've been fighting. And when we adopted, I know a big prayer was that maybe they wouldn't fight as much anymore. And that is definitely an answered prayer because they do not fight nearly as much as they used to. It's probably decreased by, 50%. But fighting overall within the siblings has probably increased 300%. Because now instead of it being Milo and Siege, it's Milo and Ollie, or Ollie and Vincenzo, or Vincenzo and Alex, or Alex and Cayman. And the possibilities, I feel like they never end. And there's always fighting happening now.
Yeah, and I would even say, I don't think that we specifically prayed that Siege and Milo would become super close through this adoption. I've always prayed in general that they would be super close siblings, that they would become best friends. But then watching them become close as a byproduct, I think, of the whole thing, those two are the best of friends. And this could also be a tiny joy that Siege is going off to high school next year. And all of a sudden one day was like, oh, Milo's not going to be in my school for 2 years. He was so bummed about that. And I just thought, wow, that isn't something I would have ever even dreamed of 4 years ago, because they were at each other's throats and they've crossed this hurdle now. And if you ask Siege who his best friend is, he always says Milo, which I think is so sweet. But yeah, the fighting is so intense. I would probably agree with that. You said your favorite part is just watching them work hard and achieve something. Can you think of something specific?
Right now, Milo is trying to start a business with a few of his friends. They are doing the dumpster dudes where they ride around on their bikes in 90 plus degree weather, carrying pressure washers and gallons of cleaning supplies and towels on their backs as they ride these bikes door to door, knocking on doors and just putting it on the line and trying to make some money and work hard. And it is nice to see him persevere. Some days they have really good days, and some days they're out there for hours and they don't make any money. He gets a little discouraged, but goes back out there and tries again. So I'm hoping that they can have some success with this.
That has been really cool to see, because just like any business, he's like, Mom, this isn't going as easy as I thought it was. And it's just so satisfying because you're like, yeah, buddy, it's tough. You got to just keep at it. That's a good example. And out of all the things he could be doing with his summer free time, trying to make a little bit of a side hustle business is a great thing. All right, next question. What surprised you most about parenting a big family?
Say it surprises me every time my wife takes my children's side in an argument. I don't know if I need to go back more than a day for this. Grandma's coming to town on Friday. It's her birthday on Saturday. And we told the kids we're going to make this Gifford standard birthday cake, which is a vanilla cake.
I don't think that's how it went. We never said we were going to make a standard birthday cake. I just said, let's make grandma a cake.
which I took to mean we will make her the standard Gifford birthday cake, which is a vanilla cake with chocolate frosting. Maybe throw some of those hard candies on top, spelling happy birthday, Grandma Abuelita. But no, now they're doing some type of double layer strawberry compost, chocolate.
Compost?
I don't know. What's it called? You Googled it. We're going to have to run this back then. I don't want to say compost if that's like manure.
No. Yes, that is exactly what compost is. Let's just talk about the cake story. Ollie's the creative one. He says, I want to make grandma a special cake. I want it to be a vanilla layer, a chocolate layer, and then I want strawberry filling in the middle and then frosting over the top. I thought the creativity was sweet for grandma's birthday. Chris took it as a personal insult because he wasn't going to be able to hit his macros perfectly with this new cake. That being said, I asked ChatGPT, I want to make a cake and I want to make this strawberry filling, but instead of writing strawberry filling, I put strawberry commode. And Chat roasted me and said, I assume you meant compote, not commode, which I thought was funny. And now I'm like, I'm pretty sure commode is a toilet. You said compost.
No, I said compote. I think you're adding letters in there. I have a lisp, so it might have sounded that way, but I definitely said compote.
Anyway, for a fiercely delicious strawberry compote, all you have to do is use 1 to 2 cups of strawberries, 2 to 4 tablespoons of sugar, lemon juice, and cornstarch. That's what we're going to do.
And I will not be partaking in the cake and ice cream portion because I will hit my macros.
Yes, which we'll get to. This is the fierce discipline. What question was that? Oh, that's the surprising part. When I take the kid's side in an argument, which I don't do that frequently.
No comment.
Okay, Chris, this is something that you are the king at. What routines or habits have helped you and me manage a busy household?
I think the number one thing I would go to is that our kids are only allowed to play on their devices or have electronic time from 10 a.m. till noon every day. So during the school year, that equates to Saturdays from 10 to noon. And then during the summer, it's pretty much every day that we have nothing going in the morning, except for Sundays when we're in church. And I think that just takes out, the kids are never asking, can I watch a movie or can I do this? Because it's between 10 a.m. and noon. If it's not, don't even ask me. But before they can get on their devices at 10 a.m., the house has to be picked up, not necessarily clean. They don't need to vacuum all the rooms, but everything needs to be picked up and put away. So there's no toys out. There's no laundry on the ground. There's no towels on the ground. There's no dishes in the sink. And they are very motivated for screen time because it is limited. So it's a great way to motivate them to do all the morning chores before they veg for a couple hours.
Yeah, I love that too. And it's also provided us with really good consequence opportunities too. You want to talk about that?
The consequences, like I said, they are very motivated by screen time. So if they do something, generally we have family rules, and a lot of that is don't fight with your siblings, don't disrespect your parents. And if they do those, they lose screen time and they lose it quickly. And most of the time it snaps them out of whatever funk they're in. Sometimes every once in a while it will derail them completely. And then we have to deal with an older tantrum, but that's less likely to happen.
Even on the road trip, we had this 3-strike rule where if you got 3 strikes, you got no electronic time on the next car ride, which we were driving pretty frequently. They do not like strikes. They don't like to get consequences. They're eager to do well. And so they would just melt down. At one point during this trip, I said, you're going to live if you get 3 strikes. You don't need to act like it is the end of the world if you get 3 strikes. Anyway, that being said, it works. I love what you said about them not asking us, when can I be on my electronics? When can I be on the screens? They don't ever ask us that because they know when screen time is. And then it is just great motivation and easy consequence to dish out. I don't enact consequences in the moment very well. It takes me a while to think of something good. Chris, on the other hand, this is his gift. He can dole out the consequences to the point where a complete crisis is eliminated because of your consequences on the spot. So tell us about some of those.
I do find great joy in giving my children consequences. So I think that's part of why I'm good at it. but I would say nothing makes me more angry than when my children are either acting entitled or being ungrateful. We live a pretty good life. When they act in either of those ways, it drives me nuts. And the story that comes to mind is we were upstairs in Milo and Alex's room about to pray before we all go to bed. We always pray together every night. And Cayman is sitting on, I believe it's Alex's bed, might have been Milo's bed. And Cayman has her own bedroom downstairs. Siege is our oldest. He has his own bedroom upstairs, but the other four boys each share a room. We have two middles in one room and then the two youngest in another room. And Cayman, having her own bedroom downstairs, she also has a king size bed. And I think she enjoys having all that space. But we're upstairs about to pray, and she's sitting in, I think it's Milo's bed. And she says, I could never sleep in a bed this small. And I just looked at her and I was like, really? Because you just earned yourself 3 nights in that exact bed. And I don't know if she slept in that bed, but I think Ollie got her room for the next 3 nights, and she had to sleep in Ollie's twin bed. And she has never said anything like that since regarding bed sizes. So that's just one instance.
And I'm watching this parenting genius take place. Another consequence that works for us, and again, maybe this is crazy. Maybe you're listening to all this and thinking we're so crazy and harsh with our kids, but having 5 boys and a pretty active girl as well. Our kids have lots of pent up energy. They're always on the go. And I think the fighting increases when there's no outlet for the energy. And so I don't know when this started, but they were at each other's throats for something. And Chris looked at him and said, go do 10,000 meters on the bike. And at one point they had to do teams. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, exactly what you just said. They're all running around the house. They're all screaming. They're all fighting, mostly play fighting, but still just a ton of too much energy. So I just sent them outside and gave them the rower, and I gave them the erg bike, which you ride for meters. And they had to get to 15,000 on each piece of equipment. And there was 4 of them. So they just rotated through every 500 meters on the bike and 250 meters on the rower. And they were out there for, I think it was like 20 or 30 minutes racking up all those meters.
I heard once in parenting that kids don't hear your voice, they hear consequences. And obviously, these are all behavior modifications. It's not like we're changing their hearts in doing this, but sometimes they need consequences. And Chris is really, really good at that. All right, Chris, tell us how you became the man behind Stay Fit Mom.
Sure. I would describe it as the perfect storm of Stay Fit Mom growing and needing help, and me being, for lack of not wanting to use an inappropriate word, less than happy with retail pharmacy. Krista was slaying it on social media with her famous 5-day meal prep recipes to the point where she was bringing in more business than you could handle by also trying to create content on your side. So you were doing a lot of the behind the scenes emails and just getting overwhelmed with everything that was going on. You both needed someone to offload work onto so you could focus primarily on content creation and growing the Stay Fit Mom community. And I was more than happy to take on that role.
So, that being said, tell us about what does it look like day to day? What are you doing?
Like I said before, I handle all of the boring stuff. So there's database management, subscription audits and management, payroll, inventory, setting up automations, resending information or digital products to customers when those automations fail. I do our QuickBooks and I do some email tasks. Essentially anything and everything I can do so that you and Krista can focus building the business.
Yeah, I think that people just don't realize how much behind the scene work comes into it. And same with me as a consumer of social media. All we see is just this one video. And there are so many things to be done behind the scenes. People will ask us what we do for a living. And Chris will say, oh, I just work for my wife now, which is it just does not accurately represent at all the amount of load that Chris takes on. So, anyway, I was just thinking about that. What you do is so significant. I feel like he is of more value at this point than me. So,
Nonsense.
out of all the things that you do, you're a jack of all trades. What's your most challenging assignment?
I would say right now, everything is smooth sailing. Like a lot of systems are in place that help with that. Change is hard in any avenue of life or job. So anytime we launch a new product or offer a new something, that generally comes with a learning curve and figuring out the most efficient way to do it. I would say initially the hardest part for me was automating everything that could possibly be automated so that someone doesn't have to sit there and physically email out digital cookbooks or instructions or you name it, anything that can just happen automatically when a purchase is made or there's a need for something. That obviously makes our job easier. And I would say initially that was the hardest part, is figuring out, we use Zapier, which is like a third party website that kind of allows you to connect different, I don't know what the word would be.
Just tie software systems to each other. When you buy a cookbook, then that helps connect you to our email services. Is that what you're kind of in?
Yeah, my background is not in any type of tech. My sister, who used to coach for Stay Fit Mom, Jamie, she was actually instrumental in helping me when I first started, and it's made our lives so much easier.
So you've seen Stay Fit Mom grow from the beginning. What are you most proud of?
In a culture of immediate satisfaction where everybody wants to get rich quick or they want to see the fruits of their labor right away, I would say I am most proud of you and Krista and your resilience, persistence, dedication, especially in the early years. Y'all worked so hard for so many years trying to build up Stay Fit Mom and create content, and all of that you guys did for a while before ever seeing any profits. I don't know if you've said it before, but you had bought a computer when you guys started the business to help, obviously, with this online business. And you had made, I don't know, a few $100s the first year. And then I think you stepped on your computer one night and broke it. And you had to spend all of your earnings from the first year to replace that computer. That was kind of how it was in the beginning before we actually saw any fruits of the labor.
Thanks, babe. What's something listeners might not realize goes on behind the scenes of the business?
Unless you're in social media and you're like forcing it upon your family to be in the videos, it's probably all of the grumbling from our children anytime mom says, I have an idea for a reel, or I want a picture for this Instagram, or whatever. If the kids are involved, they're smiling in the videos and they are smiling in the pictures, but they are screaming and yelling leading up to it and immediately after. I think some are funner than others, but there's a lot of grumbling happening in the background.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be a social media family. That's for sure. And would you say that you're one of the grumblers?
I'm probably the lead grumbler.
I was going to say, I was thinking one thing is we used to do all of our check ins on Facebook. And then we were offered the software system that had to be completely tailored and programmed specifically for our business's needs. And Chris and Chad worked together to get that to be a system that worked for our clients. I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Yeah, that was a big change. And that took a ton of work up front. It's all, for the most part, smooth sailing. We launched the habit based coaching program a couple months ago. And that came with a lot of startup projects on our software to make sure that habit coached women are getting the right questionnaires every day for their weekly check ins and just everything that goes along with that.
How do you and I navigate working together in business and raising a family?
I think working together works well because we have significantly different roles and both are tailored to our gifts and our talents. I'm on the laptop in the kitchen doing spreadsheety stuff while you're in the bedroom with a camera, filming reels, making videos. If we had to collaborate more on a project like this podcast, for instance, then the working together part would definitely cause more strife. This is not my gifting, talking. So I think because of our roles, it makes it nice.
What about raising a family, though? Same thing.
Yeah, I would say the same answer. We definitely play to our strengths. When we adopted, we went through parenting classes and they talked a lot about nurturing versus structure. And I feel like you obviously excel in the nurturing part, and my strength would be in the structure part.
It is nice. And I think we're a lot alike in a lot of ways, but we're also very different in a lot of ways. I feel like our value systems, our visions for our family, all the big things, I feel like we're alike, but our giftings are very, very different. And I do think that God orchestrated that perfectly given the roles that we have for sure. All right, well, let's get into some health and fitness questions. How are you almost 40 and still rocking a six pack?
I would say it's because I've been a competitive athlete my entire life, whether it was wrestling or football when I was younger. And then I was in CrossFit 4 days a week plus every week for over 10 years. And now my body is feeling the effects of just everything. So I'm definitely more body weight stuff. And I've been playing a lot of pickleball. I track my macros daily now to properly fuel my body, with the exception of vacations that we go on. I've relatively eaten healthy even for the last 8 years, especially since we did Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University and we quit eating out. So we're eating meals cooked at home. I would say 90+% of those are Stay Fit Mom meals. So they're very macro balanced. So that would be my reason. Other people just look at me and say it's genetics.
I was also thinking about how you grew up not having the most nutritious, balanced eating. And I remember specifically you taking a nutrition class in college and learning. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I learned in college taking nutrition class was someone had done a project, and it might have even been in my communications class where we're given presentations. Someone talked about drinking soda, and if you drink a soda a day, and they brought in this giant cookie sheet of sugar, it's like, this is basically what you're putting in your body by drinking one soda a day. And my family grew up, my dad would drink a 12 pack of Mountain Dew every day, which obviously is not great for you. I never liked Mountain Dew, but I did drink a lot of Sprite. But that changed when I got into college. I quit drinking soda.
I just remember you eating chicken tenders, Pop Tarts. Tell the story about your dad and you weighing in, because he's also a wrestler. So trying to maintain weight. So talk about your family's experience with that.
Yeah, that's actually the next question you had for me, was how has my mindset around health changed over the years? And I would say it has changed tremendously. When I was a kid in wrestling, I'd have to cut weight each week for tournaments. And the day before a weigh-in, if I was like really to weight and hungry, my dad would grab an apple in one hand and a bag of potato chips in the other hand. And he kind of do the scale balance in his hand and then hand me the potato chips like, these are lighter, so eat these. I grew up eating Pop Tarts every morning for breakfast, and I didn't even eat the healthy ones, the fruit ones. I would eat chocolate fudge ones. And that's an inside joke. And I would eat cereal every day. So our kids, I kind of feel bad for them because those are two things we will never stock in our pantry.
Although we did let them indulge in some Pop Tarts on the road trip.
Though I still do have standards. They try to sneak in a cookies and cream Oreo Pop Tart, and I would not buy that.
What are your biggest personal wins with nutrition or fitness?
I will go with fitness. I suppose I could say being a 4-time high school state finalist in wrestling and a 3-time champion, where my entire wrestling team won as a team as well 2 of those years. But that was a long time ago. More recently, me and you played in a pickleball tournament fundraiser for the local middle school, where we took first place in the beginner division. I kind of felt like Adam Sandler and Billy Madison, where he crushes all the kids in dodgeball, because we played multiple teams of middle schoolers. I think there was an elementary kid on one of the teams. And I remember you gave one of our good friends I think she was 6th grade at the time. We were playing her, and you slammed the ball and gave her a big old welt on the leg.
Sometimes I think, what is wrong? Like, we are an ultra competitive family, but I also feel like it's so fun. It's brings so much joy. And I even think our adopted kids fit so well because they are also just as competitive. And a while back, we were asked in our church life group to describe our family vision and mission statement. And they were like, if you haven't ever had this discussion with your family before, ask your kids what they think your family mission and vision is. And that will give you a good indication of what you value as a family. And so I could not wait to sit our kids down in the car and just ask them, What do you think our family mission is? And I will never forget both of them, really. We're like, second place is first loser.
Yep, that was not the answer we were hoping they would say.
I mean, no parents want that to be the thing that they remember, but I do love a good competition. This healthy competition and games and stuff is fun. But anyway, so after that, we decided to have a real sit down about no, that's not who we are. And we came up with a different family mission. Chris, do you remember it?
Yeah, it is to pursue God always while using our gifts and talents to serve others and bring him glory.
And recently, I don't know how this came up, but recently, our adopted kids, I think I said something else about our family mission. And sure enough, same answer. Second place is first loser. So I don't know if it's just fun and who we are or if we take it a little bit too far, but I think it's one of the things that brings us a lot of laughter and joy. We all love to win. Okay. Do you have a go to meal or favorite recipe from the Stay Fit Mom cookbooks?
I love all of the Stay Fit Mom recipes, but if I had to pick two, I would say the beef and broccoli and the skinny mac are probably my two favorites.
What's it like working with your own coach doing dad bod? Your favorite part?
I love it. I appreciate the unbiased and expert advice I get from my coach, but the accountability aspect is probably my favorite part. Having a type A personality, never want to check in with the coach knowing that I did not do my best. From the beginning of last summer to right before our cruise in March, where I famously gained 16 pounds in 8 days, I had tracked macros for, I guess that would have been about 9 months straight, I believe, hitting on average 13 out of 14 days. So during that time, I had lost 20 pounds. I was as light as I'd been since college in 2000, probably like 2005, 2006. And I felt great. But then we had the cruise and then we came back and then we had the road trip. So I'm back to counting macros again.
Back at it. What's something that people get wrong about what it takes to stay fit as a parent?
Probably that there isn't any or enough time. This was just like a quick Google search, but the average person spends 4+ hours on their phone every day. So I don't think the issue is time, it's time management. It's also something you have to prioritize. I saw a shirt I really liked not too long ago, targeted toward the obsession around youth sports nowadays. And it says something to the effect: your child has less than a 1% chance of going pro in their sport, but a 100% chance of standing before God. Get them into church. You might have to prioritize your health over the 0.5% chance your kid has of going pro in some sport.
What would you say to other dads or husbands watching their partners do this, meaning macro counting, monitoring their nutrition so closely? What do you say to other dads watching their partners do that, but not sure if they should get involved themselves?
I love counting macros. I haven't done a ton of diets. I've been relatively fit my entire life, so I haven't had a need to diet, but I have tried the whole 30. When you first started, you guys were pumping that out before we really got into macros and CrossFit. But I think I only made it to about whole 4. We did paleo for a brief stint. But I love counting macros. It's not restrictive, it's highly effective. And I think it's the most sustainable diet I've ever done. I can eat anything I want, albeit not as much as I want, and still see incredible results. Not to mention, if your spouse is also into counting macros, it's way easier to stick to the plan. I always know when Tracy's not tracking because I'll be seeing her eating something that I would very much like to have. And it's like, wow, I wish I had the macros for that. So I know she's not counting because generally I have way more macros than she does.
What advice would you give to other couples navigating health and busy lives together?
Yeah, this could differ depending on family values, but I think I go back to the prioritization point I made earlier. It's like the Dave Ramsey baby steps. Once you've paid off all your debts and you've saved up your 3 to 6 month emergency fund, the next step is 15% of your income into retirement. So you are taking care of yourself. And baby step 4, baby step 5 is if there's any money left after that, then you save for your kid's college. There is a chance that your kid may or may not go to college, but there is 100% chance that you are going to either retire or need to retire. So it's the whole putting on your oxygen mask first. I'm not saying that you should prioritize your health above your kids' health, but I am saying you should probably prioritize your health above your kids' extracurricular activities.
Good advice. We're going to finish it up with a rapid fire. These are just knock them out. Question answer. Favorite guilty pleasure food?
I would say any and all fun-sized candy bars. I'm pretty sure I have the macros memorized for all my favorite fun-sized candy bars. If it's at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I have 12 carbs and 6 fat left. That's a Reese's peanut butter cup. Only 10 carbs and 3 fat. That's a Kit Kat. 8 carbs and 4 fat. Mini Hershey's chocolate bar.
You already said best Stay Fit Mom recipe. Did you have another one though?
Well, yeah, I mentioned the beef and broccoli and the one pot skinny mac and cheese. So I'll go with the bacon, peanut butter burgers, and the tuna casserole. I'm not even a fan of tuna unless we're talking about a seared tuna steak, but I do love the tuna casserole. Plus, it's very high in fiber.
Favorite part of working with me?
You are my best friend. So anytime I get to spend with you is a blessing. Favorite part, though, are the day dates. Nothing beats sending the kids off to school, knocking out the morning work list, then boating somewhere to have lunch at.
You better get that door fixed. Most used macro-friendly snack?
We don't have a Costco by us anymore, but it used to be the Kirkland chocolate brownie protein bar. They were the best. Every once in a while, you get a batch that was so tough you could hardly bite into it without breaking a tooth, or so chewy that your jaw would get tired just by eating it. And they have like 15 grams of fiber. So for some reason, I don't eat a ton of high fiber food. So when I find a high fiber food I like, it makes the list. Now, though, I probably have to go with the chocolate peanut butter Fit Crunch bars, which is like a regular staple in our pantry.
One thing you've learned from parenting that helps you in business?
If we're going from parenting to business, I'm referring to parenting my children. It's probably either trust no one or the famous, if you want it done right, do it yourself. Just kidding, kind of. So I was baptized the weekend after leaving pharmacy, which I mentioned because my answer today is probably quite different than what I would have said 5 or 10 years ago. But one thing I've learned is the importance of extending grace and maintaining a heart of contentment, which is something we also try to instill into our children. We are all human, sinners by nature, and we're going to make mistakes, whether it's my child forgetting their homework or a team member missing a deadline. I'm trying to learn not to react in frustration, but to lead with patience and perspective. That doesn't mean we lower the bar, but it does mean we recognize the value in building people up instead of tearing them down. In both parenting and business, grace creates space for growth, and contentment helps me stay grounded, celebrating progress instead of always chasing perfection, which as a type A personality, that is a struggle.
Babe, this has been fun. We should do this every week.
I think this is a one and done, first and my last.
Well, I love doing it with you. That didn't come out right.
I love doing it with you too.
All right, everybody, we are going to cut out of here. That's it from season 2. We hope you enjoyed this season, and we look forward to bringing you many more seasons.
We appreciate you tuning in to the Stay Fit Mom podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Connect with us on social media and head to stayfitmom.com for more resources and tips. You've got this. See you next time.